welcome to another Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is BryanCPSteele, and I will be your nerd today and any other day that we watch one of my little silly little shows. Hi, everybody. It has been a week. It's been a week full of ups and downs and lefts and rights, and just a lot of craziness. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. First and foremost, as we jump into the weekend, Bryan, I want to get it out of the way, just because it's heavy, and I want to talk about other stuff. One of my industry friends, Andy Watkins, better yet known as Cosmo Joe, passed away this last week. He's a very young guy, and it was due to complications caused by some kind of accident. The family is not really releasing details yet, and I'm not going to pry. In all honesty, I'm not terribly concerned with the how or the why. Just the fact that it happened, and that sucks. It really sucks. Cosmo was a really awesome dude. For the people who might not know who we're talking about here, he was the head over at Studio 66. Anybody who played in RPEX, I've mentioned it before here on the channel, where the kind of the more gamer version of True Dungeon that you can often find at places like Origin or like Gamehole and GaryCon. A lot of the smaller shows, he would come out, and he was the brains behind that and the head of that that organization as well. It is a very sad and unfortunate moment that our industry is losing someone like Cosmo, and I know that I will absolutely miss his presence at the shows. Just as a quick aside, my last interaction with him was actually just after my wife and I got to play an RPEX game at GaryCon. He and I were sitting around at the ski chalet, where they host the RPEX events, and just kind of we got a good like 20-30 minutes to just sort of sit around and talk about the getting out there, the what it takes to be in this industry, and the power behind a really good idea, and we had a couple of laughs, and we left ways. We parted ways on really good terms, and a really good lots of good energy between us, and I'm very sad that it happened. And I'm very sad that he's gone. And I hope that the feeling, that good feeling of that conversation, that positivity that we left with, that will always be. I'm very fortunate that is my last interaction with Cosmo. So yeah, it's just the industry has suffered a great loss. So I'm going to take a few seconds to kind of respect the man. All right, thanks for that, guys. Let's get back to the weekend, Bryan. So obviously on a personal level, apart from the tragedy, things are okay. Car is doing goofy things again, as always. I have an old car that's kind of fallen apart around its frame, and luckily my mechanics are very cool and are going to take a look at it when we have time. Because what is going wrong is related to something that they fixed relatively recently. So Ted, my mechanic, is going to go ahead and take a look at it and see if it's just something that, maybe came loose or something. It's obviously electrical in nature. We'll see. Who knows? Hopefully it's an easy, something just needs to be replugged back in or something along those lines. Going to the gym and weight loss is going okay. I started hitting the weights again. I had taken them off after I hurt my back, after Origins. I was like, nope, I don't want to exacerbate. And so my arms are a little sore today. I did arms and shoulders, I guess some back as well. So a little sore today, but it's the right kind of sore, not the, oh, you hurt yourself sore, the, oh, you worked out sore. So good news there. Other good news, personal weekend. My son has been driving us around, helping us out and doing, trips and things, now that he can drive. So weird. But also he got himself his first, real, parents didn't have to help out, like job with a company. He's working for a food joint in West Lafayette. His training starts in a couple of weeks. I think he's excited. I know I am of mixed opinions. So my ex-wife, my son's mother, and we share time with Connor. And as you all are well aware, Connor is really just like the light in my lighthouse so often. But because we share time, and he's 16, he's got a significant other, and there's a lot of and I work all the time. We all know that. So it is one of those things that when I do have time with him, I really do treasure it. I really do treasure the time I get to spend with him, and knowing that I'm gonna lose some of that to gainful employment. It is a benchmark that I am not ready for. I'm not ready for him to be like, yeah, I can't hang out. We can't watch our Tuesday night movie. Sorry, I gotta miss D&D. Because of a job. Again, it's cool to know that he is taking those milestone steps in life. But selfishly, it sucks because I'm gonna miss out. I'm gonna miss out on some stuff. So it is what it is. Kids grow up, and all we can do is hope that we did right by them, and that they will eventually pass on what we taught them to someone else. Hobbying, I didn't do much. I painted I absolutely fast painted a model to play in a role-playing, like a playtest game. It is not my best work by any stretch of the imagination. I started the sculpting aspect on my model for Nuggle. I'm hoping to get it done before Gen Con, because I would love to be able to give that to Devin at the show, to be like, hey, look, it's Nuggle. Let's see, what else? So this weekend, I'll talk about it more next week in the Weekend Bryan as far as the actual reveal. But I built a spring-loaded gift box for a present for my sister. It's a present / prank. It definitely has some root in our childhood. So it's a story that goes back 40 years. But we'll see how it works. I did a pretty good job, I think, of loading the springs and putting in basically like grenade pin style uh, uh, pressure pins to hold it down while I put the object in, and yeah, so we'll see. I don't have high hopes that it's going to be like badwang, but even if it just like makes the lid bop a little bit, I'll be happy. We'll see. I'll let you know how it goes next week. Yes, I think that's really all my hobbying. Yeah. Gameplay wise, I had 2 D&D games last weekend, and both were awesome. We had a great time. The first one was my wife's Land of Monsters game, where I am my somewhat emotionally detached, very emotionally detached Duergar cleric of the Forge, Hargmunder, and we're still kind of getting used to the new member of our party, who is an absolute agent of chaos. Just this little bubbly owlkin, and for whatever reason, actually it's not for whatever reason, it's because the player who plays him has been a friend of mine for a very long time, and we always our characters tend to play off each other very well, whether it is in a positive sense or in a constantly snipping back and forth, that kind of thing. Albert and I do a very good job of always feeding into the moments for each other. And this is no exception. But we had a good time. It was a little bit of a planning session. We had a little bit of combat, but it was more of a travel session to get us probably to like the next point in Natalie's story. One of the things that I thought was kind of cool is she's very narrative in her concepts, so she has no problem setting up a fight or a combat that is an absolute pushover, like literally just the easiest thing in the world. Like, it takes us nothing. If we spend spell levels and stuff on it, that's on us. But it's because it's a situation that makes sense, that you might get attacked by a predator, or you stumble upon a monster eating something. She's not going to go out of her way to find necessarily a fair combat just because the rules say that you shouldn't waste time with easy nothings, or it's cool. I like it. Yeah, it might take us 2 seconds, but it's a little adrenaline spike in the middle of a travel session, and it makes sense in the world. Not everything needs to be a completely balanced encounter, one way or the other. And so yeah, that we had a lot of fun with that. The session did end a little early. One of our players got ill, was not feeling well, so he had to bop home. And then after one player leaves sort of mid-session, it sort of steals the air out of the room for the rest of the session. So while we still kind of talked about game and had some little minor interactions that had nothing to do with his character, for like another 45 minutes or so, you could definitely tell that when he got sick and left, it kind of unplugged the session. Like it sort of took the juice out of us. And so yeah, we'll get back at it later on, and can't wait for the next session. And then on the following day, I drove down to Indy to play in my buddy's Eurosha game. Eurosha is his world that he has been building for 30 plus years. I've mentioned it's the game that has the 5.5 foot tall, built to 28 millimeter scale dark tower. Well, we made it to the tower. We had a somewhat tough fight in the like cemetery that surrounds it, like the graveyard that surrounds the bottom of the tower, and it was a tough fight. But some of that had to do with we had some bad dice. DM had some very good dice, and we took it under our kind of like, maybe we just been playing 5e for so long that you kind of take it you take it for granted that you can take long rests. That you're like, yeah, we'll just take a nap and we'll be fine. So we were spending spell levels, and once a short rest, once a long rest, you do all of those game assets. We were burning through a lot of them, thinking that we were going to get some kind of chance to rest before moving into the next thing. And we managed to squeeze in a short rest, but in this story, and this is something that I really dig. In this narrative, the heroes are getting together. We know we're getting together to fight against this like vampire king, the guy who built this tower 200 years ago or whatever. And we know he's going to be a scary fight. We know that he's going to be tough, but all of our planning is based off of making sure that we try and hit that tower when it's daytime. Because he's going to be not necessarily vulnerable, but he'll be less scary, superpowered if it's not if it's daytime. So when we start having the conversation about, okay, so it's like a half an hour walk to the tower from here. Do we have time to let's take a rest? Several of the spellcasters are like, I need a long rest. I can't do this. And someone points out that if we take a long rest, it's past sundown when that rest is over, and we'll be heading into the tower right when we said we weren't going to, or we didn't want to. And we fought enough of his agents that he has to know that we're coming and that we're right outside the door. So being like, all right, well, we'll take a long rest and then we'll just wait the following day or whatever. We're not going to wait. He's going to send stuff against us, possibly while we're resting. And so we squeeze in a short rest instead. People are spending hit dice. All the things about the rest system that are kind of cool, like the whole short rest. You got to spend some hit dice. How many hit dice do we spend? The things that 5e were designed to create that kind of game asset, game resource and asset tension. We actually are feeling, and it's cool. And that's one of the things as 10th, now 11th level characters. It's pretty hard to challenge and really make it feel like it's risky. And Carlos is the game master. Carlos is doing a really good job of doing so. So that was a lot of fun. We had a good time. And then literally last night, me and my buddy pulled out on our Xbox night. We pulled out Baldur's Gate 3 again, just because we hadn't played in a long time, and made new characters. And it's a fun game, I think the first act is really good. I think the end is really good. The middle chunk takes a little while. There's a lot of wheel spinning in that game, but it was a good time. That's pretty much it for game stuff. Work is a lot. I did this to myself. July is very, very, very heavily booked. Lots of little mini deadlines, a lot of stuff that I was like, all right, cool. I want to squeeze this in before Gen Con. I want to squeeze this in before Gen Con. I want to squeeze this in before Gen Con. And before realizing it, I have like 7 mini deadlines and 1 large one, all in like a 2.5 week period. So it's busy. It's a very busy time. I'm not going to roll through all of them, but it's a lot of writing, a little bit of designing. The highlights are I am about ready to turn in my first shot at the Xeogenesis solo scenario rules. I'm happy with them. Solo play is not something that I normally really get into. I will always want to play with a friend, but it is it's a cool concept, especially for people who just kind of want to practice when they don't have a person to play against. So it's nice to be able to do that part of the process for a new cool game. Things with Intergalactic Heroes are progressing wonderfully. We had a pretty deep meeting about how we are going to proceed with that series. It's causing a little, some little move up, little shake up in a few places. But it is, I think the end result is going to be very, very cool, and it has become my absolute focus over at Evil Genius. So I am able to donate to this ain't no charity, able to devote most of my Evil Genius working time toward getting that closer to us making it a reality. So very happy there. Plus, there's more cool stuff happening behind the scenes that, if it comes together and if it works, I will be extremely happy to tell you about all that when it happens. And I'm not even going to say if, I'm going to say when, because I'm feeling positive. Let's see, what else is really pressing? The Monster Trainers Handbook. I'm still doing a bunch of stuff with that, and doing a lot of stuff for the Infinite Stories project. Again, I put the link for that. Please go sign up for an account, or on the landing page so you can talk about it. Also, when this comes out, it'll be tomorrow. So on the 19th, on July 19th, the Okarim Adventure Burning Man that I helped write with Matt Everhart and Luke Gygax over for Gygax Inc. is going to go to Kickstarter. I will probably talk about it a little bit on next week when the campaign is live, so I can put the thing in there. But I'll put the landing page in the description of this video, so you can bop it over there and get ready to click on that. I mean, it's a big adventure. I mean, it's got 3 acts, and it's a significant story, but it's still just an adventure. So it's not going to be a massive investment, and it's something that you can play if you're a D&D fan and you want something cool in a cool world. Go check it out. We'd love to have you on board with playing our stuff. There's all kinds of more little work things that are happening always. But yeah, I kind of want to get into I've been doing the Week in Bryan for a long time. This time, I want to go ahead and get into my review. The reason why we are gathered here today. So, the reason why I'm giving today, you read the thumbnail, why I am doing a Superman 2025, better yet known as James Gunn's Superman, why I'm doing my review here. So, if you haven't been able to tell, I am a huge DC Comics fan. I mean, I've got a Kryptonian tattoo. I am a very, very big DC Comics fan. I like Marvel Comics too. Don't I grew up on them as well. Don't come at me and be like, man, DC, Marvel. It's not a versus for me. DC is I think have better stories. I definitely enjoy my DC stuff way more. But it is comic book stories collectively I've always loved since I was little. My uncle, the person who this ring that I wear, the P, is his old ring, Uncle Pat. he got me my first subscriptions to comics. So I had comics show up. It was through him that I got my first letter published in a Ghost Rider comic in like 87, I think. But and then later on in life, while I was in college, I actually had a second one published. Either way, I'm a big comic book nerd. I always have been. I can spend hours on end debating and talking and philosophizing about what makes certain comics good, what makes certain heroes attractive to the populace, and I would love to do comic book podcasts. If somebody wanted to have me on to pontificate about things. But that being said, the last 20 years have been amazing. I mean, it'd go back even further for comic book movies collectively. But for the last 20 years, comic book movies have really been just blockbusters. Even when they're not great, they still are spectacles. And, a lot of that has to do with the MCU. A lot of that comes from the sort of recent American the recent American need for a collective universe, like a multiverse, a this story leads to this story leads to this story, that has really become, back in the day, we were fine with, not knowing that there was going to be a sequel. We were fine with being like, oh, this is a cool movie. And then when a sequel got announced, you're like, what? Or in those rare instances where one movie makes a reference to another movie, you're like, oh, are they in the same universe? That was something that we grew up as a, it was a happenstance awesomeness. Now there's a lot of things, a lot of movies, you just sort of expect it. It's we wait around at the end of the credits to see if there's going to be some kind of stinger, and we hope that the stinger is going to lead to, is there another movie coming out? Is there a different movie in the same universe that is attached to this? It's a different viewing experience. But it has absolutely rekindled in some the love for the superhero genre. And also because fan bases are fan bases, and the internet sometimes can be poison. Ironically saying this on a show that I'm putting on the internet. That there's also going to be fan bases that people will scream and shout, and you're doing it wrong, and you're horrible for thinking that it's good. Hyperbole abounds. And I think before we get into my review of the new Superman, I have been very vocal for many, many years about my my absolute love for what has later become known as the DC Snyderverse. Basically, the works of Zack Snyder in the comic book world, in the comic book movie world. Starting with like Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. The extended cut is better than the regular cut. The Snyder cut of Justice League is infinitely better than the one that Warner Brothers put together and had Joss Whedon cover up the cracks after Zach and Deborah's daughter passed away in the middle of filming, kind of creating a significant rift and problem and emotional tragedy for them, so they had to stop. Joss Whedon stepped in. There's a lot. I think David Ayer's Suicide Squad, I did not dislike it. Like, a lot of people really, really hated it. I liked it a lot more than most people did. I know that it has problems, and there's definitely some disjointed scenes that felt weird. As we find out later on that it's because, similar to what happened with Justice League, where Warner Brothers stepped in and made a bunch of cuts and slashes, and no, we don't want to do this, we can't do this, you're not going to do this, we'll fix it in post. They did the same thing to David Ayer, And David Ayer's original Suicide Squad script and storyboarding would have played perfectly with Zack Snyder's original concepts for where he was going to take the Justice League. Which is, again, I mean, I guess it's related. The studio made these changes, which means they can't leave in the original stuff that isn't being changed, so forth and so on. It's domino effect, and the domino effect is that some of these movies really came off. Some of these movies did not hit like they should because there were some bad choices involved. All that being said, and I can say this, and I've said it publicly before, is Man of Steel is, no, it's not perfect, obviously. I don't think there is such thing as a perfect movie except maybe Ghostbusters. And Man of Steel is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. Watchmen is probably my favorite. But it is absolutely everything I wanted out of a modern Superman story. Again, there are a couple of hiccups in it that I went, probably not the choice I would have made, but that's the benefit of being a creative, is that there's every story, every movie I watch, every book I read, everything, I'm always going to have that little voice in the back of my head that was like, ooh, I wish it was like this. It's what gets our imagination going. But all that being said, that vision, the DCEU that Zach was putting together, and that kind of somewhat fell apart at the end because Warner lost faith in him, and wanted to try and emulate the MCU and tried to make things funnier and flashier, and they tried to make it more about the color and the spectacle than about the story and the concept and the greater build. And I think some of the movies suffered for it. Toward the end of what I will consider the bridge to the new DCU is there were movies that they were trying, movies and a series, the Peacemaker series, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, awesome in their own way. I thought Peacemaker was hilarious. I enjoyed it a great deal, but it was obviously built for a specific audience. The Suicide Squad by James Gunn, I thought was a great movie, a fun, an enjoyable movie. He did what he always does. He takes characters that either people have never heard of, except for super comic nerds like myself, and tried to and inserted them in this and made, whoever would have thought that you could make Polka Dot Man into an interesting on-screen entity, and he did. He managed to do it. And sorry, my nose itches. And it was entertaining. It was fun. It was exciting. It was heartfelt in places. It was a good movie. I think the first 15 minutes was awful. I absolutely, when it comes to the parts of James Gunn's storytelling that I do not enjoy, are where he just goes, it doesn't matter. The ramifications don't matter. It's fine. We'll just, as long as everybody's having a good time, that's all that matters. And while I say that about people playing games, when it comes to a movie, I want things to matter. I want things to actually have depth. And the super goofy, let's kill Team One part of, spoilers by the way, part of the Suicide Squad, I thought was a waste of some very cool characters. I thought it was very stupid. Like it was these guys are, some of them are lifetime criminals. They're super villains in their own right. they fought against people like the Flash and Aquaman, and and they're just going to run up on a beach and get killed. That was dumb. I really, really, really hated that the whole Team 1 segment of what Gunn did with the Suicide Squad. And I would have much rather him just shorten the movie by 20 minutes and just have it be about the main team. I don't know. A lot of people enjoyed it. A lot of people were like, "Ho ho ho, armed detachable kid." But again, that's my opinion when it comes to a lot of what James Gunn does. Looking at his MCU work, the Guardians of the Galaxy is an obscure team with a lot of cameos and a lot of this, that, and the other thing, and he has no problem changing the concepting and like the power levels and stuff of some of those characters to make a good movie. And I love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But I think part of that is because he takes those characters and he focuses on them and makes a very interesting set of dynamics that are entertaining to watch, but also good characters, interesting to learn about. Now that I've given you the preamble, I have been, since the announcement that Gunn was doing a new Superman, that he wasn't going to keep Henry Cavill, that the entire tone of the DCU is changing more to be like the Flash and Peacemaker and his Suicide Squad, and then later on Creature Commandos, the animated series. I've been positively skeptical. Again, it's DC stuff, and it's hard for people to. As a super fanboy, it is difficult for me to watch something that's in the DCU and not go, yeah, that's awesome, because these are characters that I've seen on the page that I'm seeing up on screen, and that's all that matters as far as I'm concerned. It can be a mediocre film, and I'll still enjoy it. I might critique it afterwards, but it's still gonna be awesome, and I'm gonna pay my money. I'm gonna eat my popcorn. I'm gonna watch that. It's gonna take an absolute. It would really be difficult for me to walk out of that effort and go, man, I can't believe that. I can't believe that just happened. I wish it didn't. The closest thing we got to that in the DCU was Wonder Woman 84. Had lots of really good parts, but there were so many parts that just made no sense, and it was disjointed and strange in the capacity of the rest of the rest of the multiverse, or the rest of the DCU universe. It was rough getting through that, and most of the DCU projects I've watched multiple times, sometimes lots of multiple times. I think I've only seen that maybe twice, and that says a lot. That's what I was really making sure that I kind of kept my opinions. I didn't want to turn this into. I didn't want to be like the Snyder Bros. Because I am. I'm a huge Snyder fan. I think Warner did him dirty. I think the Snyderverse getting cut off just when it was starting to gain steam after his release. I really think that universe could have been the perfect opposite to the MCU. The MCU is got some really good movies, but it's filled with a lot of empty calories too. A lot of fluff, no substance. And I really liked the fact that the DCU was trying to do a lot more substance and a lot more, stakes and grit. And this is not about that. But I was very concerned that Gunn was going to be turning, especially after seeing The Suicide Squad, that he was just going to turn the DCU into another empty calorie Marvel flick. But I tried to remain positive. And I think I did. I think I did a good job. I tried not to join in on any like smashing or bashing, or when someone was like, "God, Gunn's going to ruin everything." Is I wanted to be like, no, I like a lot of the stuff that he makes. You know, he's a damn fine filmmaker. He's an amazing sound technician when it comes to putting together soundtracks and things. He has a good track record of doing good projects. Hopefully he will be able to separate his style, if that makes any sense, so they don't so that it wasn't just another of the same thing. And then Creature Commandos came out, the cartoon on HBO, the animated series. It was entertaining, it was good, but it was definitely a Gunnism. There was no question you were watching one of it's a team full of a team full of misfits that will have a bunch of funny one-liners, and it was entertaining, it was fun, but it was definitely just another Guardians of the Galaxy style thing that Gunn was doing. This time with monsters instead of space superheroes. Then they started announcing stuff about Superman. I don't think there is anything when they started announcing the cast. There was nothing apart from me wishing that Henry Cavill would have stayed on and they would have continued making this at least somewhat part of the multiverse. Everything I was reading, I was excited about. I was like, that guy looks great. That guy's a great actor. That's cool. Interesting character. And then they started putting out the fact that there was going to be more characters and more characters and more characters. And immediately I was like, oh no, it's Gunn doing Gunn. He's going to create a team full of misfits. He's going to make it so characters that very few people even know about. And Superman's going to take a back seat to all of these hijinks. Now, I've seen the movie. And I have been inundated with the last week with people asking me what I thought. And I've been able to give very quick, I liked it more than I didn't. I'll give it a solid like 3.5 out of 5. It was good. I had a good time. I enjoyed it. There were far more things that I enjoyed than I didn't. And I, rather than writing that out 10 times over, I did... I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do a video. I'm just going to do a review video. There we go. That's what we'll do. And so here we are. That's why this is happening. So I went to go see the Superman 2025 opening night. It was I went as part of a birthday celebration for one of my friends. So it was a positive thing. I went with good and happy intentions, and sat down and had a fine evening. The movie itself, like I said, I would score it a 3.5 out of 5. It was good. It was entertaining. It was fun. It was a dazzling spectacle. The story was solid, you know. I mean, it's a Superman story. It's Lex versus Superman, and Lex has this plan, and it's part of his, a miniature version of world domination. And they really leaned hard into that, and it touched on some things that I thought were actually really cool. I thought that it was neat that they leaned a little more into, hey, Superman, you can't just go around stopping wars. You're not the king of Earth. Yes, you want to save people, and I get it. I absolutely understand. But you can't just run and go stop how progress works all the time everywhere, especially if your middle American upbringing is showing. It was cool. It was a neat take. I really I thought Lois was fantastic. Um, I really liked how she was not instrumental, but like she's a good plot moving, like she's plot lubricant. I like that Jimmy had something to do. The inside joke thing about Jimmy being irresistible to women, apparently that's some kind of like deep cut that even I don't know anything about. Um, it was weird. I love the actor that they got to play Jimmy. I think he's fantastic, and I liked that. All the scenes that he was in, I think he did a great job. Um, I that kind of vapid selfie personality makes me crazy. But I think Tess, I think Lex's girlfriend. I think she was was fantastic. I loved the character. I loved that her selfies were all the background of them was what was needed. I mean, it was very cool. I really enjoyed that part of things. Um, I think for the most part, the castings were dead on for the characters that were being presented. Um, the Lex was great. He did the style of this movie really does herald back to the Silver Age of comics. I mean, we even got some oh golly out of Superman. Um, that's not the part that I like. That is a little bit of a separation of a suspension of disbelief. You know, you can't have a story that's filled with a phone full of women that Jimmy has dated and selfies and sexy selfies. You can't have that and then also have somebody who says golly, like it's a wrong era. you know, or my favorite, Superman several times says, "Oh my gosh." I get it. You're trying to really bring in that wholesome factor, but then 5 minutes later, you have him making out with Lois for a full 2 minutes on a kitchen counter. It's difficult to accept dialogue like golly and gosh, and ridiculous scenes like using super speed to save a squirrel during a kaiju attack, but yet, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. The parts of Superman 2025 that I really, really, really enjoyed. I thought the David Cornsweet did an amazing job. No question. I think he understood the character as written. The script he was handed was exactly what he delivered. I don't like a lot of that stuff that he was forced to do, but he did a great job with it. The Crypto, I know a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, Crypto's the best. Crypto's that." Yeah, you're talking to somebody who I hate the Flurkins or whatever from the Captain Marvel series, the stupid space cat. Can't stand it. Goose, yeah, can't stand it. I think it's dumb. It's absolutely dumb. We need a break from reality humor. But oh look, it's a cute cat with tentacles in his face. I thought there was too much Crypto. I thought Crypto was cool. It was fun. It was a neat. I liked seeing it. I liked seeing that he was an actual dog, jumping and playing, and I thought that it was a very cool take on Crypto. But there was too much of him. In a movie that is supposed to be about Superman, I didn't need quite so much Crypto. But it was good. It was that don't take that as a Bryan doesn't like Crypto. I thought Crypto was great. I just think that we got we could have done with 80% of the crypto that was on screen and it would have been fine. The gag would have hit home. The Justice Gang. First off, I get that it was a funny joke, that they're came up with this name, and that it's not the Justice League and it's not the Justice Society, because that's all the stuff that was done in the movies before. Not a fan. Loved them on screen. Loved the choices that Gunn made of who to put in that initial sort of foray. I thought the Justice gag was kind of stupid. And to talk about them as characters, Guy Gardner was perfect. I like what they did with him. I think that they did a great job with the character. Effects were great, obviously. He was a great translation. All my worries about being, it's going to be Nathan Fillion being Nathan Fillion, they did a good job. I'm going to include Metamorpho in the Justice Gang part, because it's basically the gaggle of people that helped out Superman. I thought Metamorpho was amazing. They did a great job with his effects. They did a great job making, giving him a reason to be, and a reason to show off the powers that he has. The him being a floating head for a little while and then slowly regrowing his limbs as a floppy squid thing. It's Gunn being Gunn. Didn't take anything away from it. Just made me go, really? Okay. All right, we're gonna do silly things. Hawk Girl, I felt, got the short end of the stick. She looked good, and the couple of scenes we got to see her do stuff, she hit people with her mace, which is cool. But I really think that she didn't have enough decent dialogue. We didn't get to really understand how her stuff works. We see her without, in civilian clothes, but she doesn't have wings. So are her wings part of the suit? Are her wings magical? Do they sprout? Is she a Thanagarian? There's a lot of questions that are just sort of, okay, whatever. She's got a mace and she hits stuff and screeches. I don't know. I thought that they could have done more with her. And just, it felt a little bit like they simply just needed to have a non-Wonder Woman girl on the team. And I think that doesn't do her justice. No pun intended. They absolutely should have done more with her and given us a better representation of Hawkgirl. Not representation of Hawkgirl, but more of a good representation of Hawkgirl, if that makes any sense. And then the absolute highlight of the whole damn movie, Mr. Terrific. So the guy who played Mr. Terrific in the Arrowverse, Echo. So my wife and I we know him. We've talked to him quite a bit. We've talked online a little bit. He's a great dude. I loved the Arrowverse take on Mr. Terrific, and this was fantastic, and it gets my absolute seal of approval. And I bet Echo is over the moon that there's a movie version that has done so well, because he was great. He chewed up the screen every time he was on. It showed how smart he was. It showed his cool technology, but it also showed that he's not the I don't understand how everything works nerd trope that has happened out in the universe. As of late, that's been a big thing. It's like every smart person has to be autistic. Every super nerd has to be socially withdrawn and can't understand how the world works around them. I love that he felt like a real person. He felt absolutely like someone who just is crazy super smart and doing a job. It was awesome. I thought Mr. Terrific absolutely just chewed up the screen every time he was on. They did. I love the technology that they built for him. I love his T-spheres. Yeah, no, I will gladly take as much Mr. Terrific as you can put on the screen. I hope that they continue to do great things with him. Let's take a few seconds to talk about the villains, and then we'll eventually get back to kind of my overall thoughts on Superman. Lex was amazing. You know what? Before we get into the villains, let's talk about one of the things that really did rankle me quite a bit. The Kents. I loved Pa Kent. I think he was lovable, believable, the right amounts of quiet, and when he did say things, it had impact, had heart. I loved him. Ma Kent was a bad hillbilly caricature. I did not enjoy her being on screen. I didn't enjoy how deep Gunn had her super southern accent for being someone in Kansas. She was too much. The opening shots of her screaming into a speakerphone, I did not like her aspect on the screen. They could have toned her down to half as hillbilly as they made her, and I would have been happy. But Pa Kent stole those scenes, and so that's my take on that. I'm not going to go too deep into that. You guys got the gist. Gunn likes to go 110% on a good thing when 90% is good enough. Back to the villains. Lex was great. They made him a little bit too mustache twirly in a couple of places where there's a little bit of the "I don't care so long as people suffer." That was a little much. The pocket dimension jail filled with bazillions of people. I get it. It is definitely an old school Silver Age villain thing to do, and it was a big plot device. So I do understand that. I just wish we would have seen more of the, Lex is supposed to be the greatest criminal mind of the world. I wish we would have seen more of that, because he was not. He was too obsessed. He made too many dumb mistakes about that were easily thwarted, and a lot of times he sat there and just watched them happen. Like, why is this happening to me? But I get it. The bad guy. It's a Silver Age comic movie. The bad guy has to lose, and you have to have the bad guy has to have extremely exploitable flaws. Like that's a Silver Age. That is a straight up Silver Age comic thing. So I can excuse that. But I think Nicholas Hoult did a great job. But no notes. No notes on his acting. His cohorts, though, Ultraman, I'll tell you why I put that in quotes here in a second, and the Engineer. The Engineer is a Gunnism. He grabbed an obscure Superman villain in an effort to bring it to the screen for the first time, and I think she was awful. She was an excuse to use CGI to do random things. Like there are a dozen other very cool technologically sound characters that could have done her part in that movie. But as it was, I thought that I really thought that she was a lack. Like the whole time I'm like, okay, she's got gooey nanites. Cool. Not to mention, there were a few instances where if fans don't see this and go, what? There are a couple of spots where, like, there's one instance where she's facing the computer, and Crypto comes into the scene, or the robots come into the scene, and rather than turning around, like a person, she flips over, turns her legs into arms, and her head reforms where her crotch was. It's just this absolutely superfluous thing that is like, okay, we're showing off. Oh, look at this, she's made of nanites. There were ways to do that. You could have shown off that she's made of nanites. We already had seen it, two dozen times since then, that she's made saws and she did the tentacle thing, and we already know that she can do these things. We didn't need this weird handstand body morphism. It was the dumbest thing ever for someone who's supposed to be like a intelligent tech character. If you wanted to do that, you could have easily just done kind of like what the T-1000 did back in the frickin' 90s, 80s. 90s, I think. The whole, my face reforms on the front of me and the body just kind of goes, brrr. They could have done that, and it would have been cool looking. It would have still shown, oh, she's completely fluid, made out of nanites. But instead, we get this weird hand over arm to leg. It was dumb. It was dumb, and when it happened, I audibly sighed. I was like, ugh, because it's just a stupid moment. Similarly, later on, she does this like jetpack slide across the floor for nothing. Like, she makes 10 feet worth of movement when no one is trying to get at her. It'd be different if she used it to like dodge heat vision, or a car got thrown at her or something, and she's like, oh, I've got to morph and slide. She just did it to cross 20 feet of turf. Yeah. So no, I think that other than her role in the plot, and having to have an extra person for people to fight, or rather for Crypto to fight, she was useless and an absolute waste. We could have refocused the plot, had Lex do the computerizing stuff. There were so many other things that could have been done. But yeah, so boo there. And Ultraman. I put the name in quotes because that is not Ultraman. And Gunn, for the most part, is really good about trying to stay loyal to comics. He knows better. And I kind of hate that he used the name Ultraman at all. Because Ultraman is an evil Superman from another dimension, not a clone. And also, he's a member of the crime syndicate. He's a super hyper intelligent leader of another team. Using the term Ultraman, honestly, it's just as dumb as using the term Doomsday for the creature in Batman v Superman. It's a bad choice, because you're in one hand, it's the same reason like using the Mandarin in Iron Man 3 when it's not the Mandarin. It partially eliminates the ability to use that character without remembering the bad one, and it robs you of an opportunity to make a character or make an on-screen version of a character that you want to actually see in Vision. Because here's the deal: the Ultraman from Superman 2025. If they would have never called him Ultraman and just continued to call him, Project U, or because he's, again, spoilers. We've already been spoiling all over the place. The Hammer of Baravia. They could have easily, called him, Project Hammer, or Project 1771, like whatever. But calling him Ultraman, for comic book people, it made us go, ooh, did he get him from another dimension? I mean, he's got portals that go into that pocket dimension. Is that actually the... And instead, it's effectively Bizarro. without the directly opposite powers. It's basically it's Lex creating Bizarro #1 from the Superman clone. The kind of dumb, I can't really talk. The video game commands were a little hokey. A1, 17B. Okay, whatever. But it got the message across that character was not, it was basically just a puppet of Lex. And here's my opinion. If he would have been a Bizarro, if there would have been a way to, maybe call him Project B or something like that, where I kind of all right, or Project B1. It would have been a cool Easter egg, especially when they pulled it off and he's got that long hair. Because there's a really, really cool picture of Bizarro #1 that's got kind of like long, scraggly hair and smiling, and it would have been a cool Easter egg. And then he gets sucked away into that black hole. We don't really know this, and along with it, I don't know if you looked at it, but a lot of the material, like the proto material and stuff from that pocket dimension, they're all cubes. They were all squares and cubes and cubes and squares. As a comic book dork, it immediately made me think of, like Bizarro World. In Bizarro World, the world is a cube, and I wonder if all that proto material, all that pocket dimension material, that obviously can multiply and whatever and change things, that got sucked off into the black hole with Ultraman, I wonder if that could eventually be turned into and metamorphose and whatnot into Bizarro World in another dimension. That would be cool. I'd be okay with that. It still wouldn't change the fact that calling him Ultraman is stupid. But I would be okay with that. I see that character on screen and go, okay, this is basically an altered origin story for Bizarro #1. So that's going to be my headcanon from here on out. Now let's talk about Superman. The fact that he gets trounced so much in this movie is disappointing. That the times that we see him use his superpowers, like other than just flight, it is inconsistent. He's not strong enough to hold up a kaiju, a flesh and bone creature. He struggles to keep it from smashing into a building, but yet later on during the rift scene, he can hold up an entire building that has been collapsed by other buildings. Little consistency here, guys. His heat vision is either ridiculously weak, or he doesn't care that he's adding in a bunch of scenes to specifically be like, oh, by the way, Superman doesn't kill nobody, not in this movie, is silly. When he flew up in the sky and did the spin around all the Lex bots, or I guess the Raptors, because they're actually people in suits. We see him laser the heat vision 50 guys, but then we have to add a scene of all those guys falling hundreds of feet. We'll say 50 feet. We'll say 50 feet. 50 feet out of the sky to land on the sidewalk with flaming blasts in their chest, but all of them are like, oh man, ow, that hurts. We are. It is hammered into us that Superman didn't kill those guys. By the way, they're all okay. They're all okay. But yet, down in the Pocket universe, he has no problem lasering dudes and them falling into the Proto River or getting sucked out into the thing. Again, it's inconsistencies. It's if you're going to show us this, there's a kaiju who, again, unnecessary. The stupid, this is a Gunnism. giant, big, cuddly monsters. He did it with Starro. He does it at the beginning of most of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He's big about, here's this big, goofy monster that's, kind of floppy, kind of childlike, there are so many things that he could have had done as an actual threat, even to that size. But instead we get a big floppy monster that breathes fire and has a impenetrable skin that we get this eyeball pokey thing, and I don't know. Again, it's if you go out of your way to make things goofy and fun instead of realistic, sometimes I don't care for it. I said it. But it's with the Superman, it's during that fight, we are going out of our way to hold up this thing's foot so the dog will move, and we'll whisk one person away and then take a moment to be like, are you okay, ma'am? I get it. It's a Silver Age thing. That's my Superman. But it is dumb. I know some people like it. I do not. I like seeing him save people. Having him save the little girl from the explosion. Having him take people to save people that are in danger is awesome. Taking a moment mid-fight to be like, everyone okay? It's too much for me. It is too. It's the golly gosh. It's too Silver Age for me. I would much rather. It takes me out of the moment. And I think the biggest thing for that is taking the time to save the squirrel. It actually made me upset in the theater. Not upset oh, this movie sucks, but it was, okay, come on. Gunn is really good at making good things. He is also really good at doing too much of a good thing. And I think trying to hammer in how good of a guy this Superman is was too much for me. I enjoyed him. I just, again, like so many other things, I just wish they would have turned it down a little bit. We get it at 110, I want it at a 90. Sometimes I want it at an 80 or 70. But Gunn was very much nope, crank it up. He's going to save people, he's going to save all kinds of people, and a dog, and a squirrel. Where Metamorpho can do cool things with his body. All right, cool. We're going to have him make some kryptonite. We're going to have him make a fake sun to recharge Superman a little bit. Cool things. We're also going to make him blow up his entire body into acid and be a floating head for a while. Floating head. I think that's my problem. Is everything is just too far. Just a little pop, 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 pop. Where if you would have stopped it at that sweet spot, it'd have been a perfect movie. It'd been great. I think that's my overall take. Except for the one. I've mentioned on several. At this point, I'm going on for a long time. I told you I could talk about this forever. There is I've talked about specific characters. When it comes to the main arc of the plot, I will say one thing that I understand, I do not like. It could have been done different. Jor-El and I can't remember Superman's mom's name. Lon, I think. Their message being the reason why the Earth turns against Superman, because the end of their message says rule them. I don't like that. And I really, really, really wish that it would have come out. Yes, the experts, they're never wrong. It's unfakeable. There's no way. You're talking about an alien message here. Those experts have no idea what's going on. I would have loved for it to have turned out that Lex and the engineer they fix the broken code, find out what it is, give me a scene that shows that the original message is, save them, lead them, something like that, and that the engineer and Lex helping to show that they are the smartest people and technologically more advanced than anybody else in the universe or anybody else on Earth. Have Mr. Terrific figure it out that there's that they doctored that message, and how do we get the world to understand that? But having it that the actual message is, they're weak monkeys, control them, lead them, breed them out, make your harem. Come on, that was actually dumb and insulting, frankly, to the Superman story. I hated that. Like, actively, I can dislike a lot of things, and I can be like, not the way I would go. Oh, that's too much. There's a lot of things that bothered me, but that straight up made me angry if that turns out to be the actual reality of what happened. That Jor-El sent him here to rule Earth. That also kind of eliminates the concept of what Zod is about. Like, Zod's going to show up and be like, all right, so I'm going to do what your dad told you to do. And it's I don't know. I actively think that that's a bad call, and it is going to come back. If it doesn't get fixed later on in some capacity, that is going to be something that haunts the DCU for anything that has to do with Superman or Krypton in general. That being said, I loved the drunken Supergirl cameo. I love that leads into. I have a feeling, him the throwaway line of, oh, she likes to go partying on other planets. I think that is how we know that Lobo, my boy Jason Momoa playing Lobo. We know that Lobo is going to be one of the main villains, if not the main villain, in Supergirl next year. I mark my words. I think that what's going to happen is that we're going to see Supergirl partying on another planet, because we got that kind of here's the lead in. But her partying on that other planet, someone's like this adorable, probably a James Gunn-esque, goofy, please help me alien, is going to run up to her and be like, help me, save me. And because she is still a hero, yeah, she might have been drunk in the scene, she's still a heroine. I think she is going to be like, all right, cool, let's help you get you home or whatever. And that little critter is going to turn into basically Lobo's. Lobo is a bounty hunter. That's going to be one of Lobo's targets, and he's going to be like, hand it over. And she's going to be like, no, I swore that I would take this guy home. I swore that I would protect him. You can't have him. He's innocent. Whatever. Maybe it'll turn into a crime drama about trying to save this framed alien from Lobo or whatever. But I think that's going to be how we get, how we connect Supergirl to a interstellar bounty hunter. And I'm here for it. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's also exactly up Gunn's, like that Guardians of the Galaxy feel, that space is a weird place. I think that's right up his alley. And I hope that it's not just Guardians of the Galaxy 4. But I do think that that's going to be a very cool thing to see next year. Overall, and the after credit scenes, okay. I don't think we needed them. The one with Crypto and them sitting on the moon watching over Earth. It's cute. That would have been a nice thing just to have at the end, period. Just a cute moment. The extra scene with him and Mr. Terrific, with Superman and Mr. Terrific, talking about how the world didn't get put back quite right because of come on. I thought that was dumb. It was it was dumb as a stinger. It was a cute scene. It could have easily have just been in the movie, like somewhere. I don't know. It didn't need to be where it is. I shouldn't have had to suffer through needing to go to the bathroom for an extra 8 minutes through credits for that, in my opinion. But overall, let me wrap this up because it has been going on a long time. Sorry, guys. Overall, I enjoyed it. I really, really did. I am looking forward to more of the DCU under Gunn's helm. I hope that he learns to tone it down a little, to turn that dial from 11 to 8 or 9 in places, to determine when enough is enough. You don't have to be a hyperbolic level of message giving. Sometimes something good is better because it's in smaller doses. I also hope that he continues grabbing obscure characters. I'm very much looking forward to what the Green Lantern series on Max. Because I think that Guy Gardner was great in this movie, and I look forward to seeing the characterizations of Jon Stewart and Kyle Rayner and Hal. I want to see more of that. I want to see the Sinestro. If we're going to get for the first time for real, the Yellow Lantern enemy style of the Silver Age, or if we're going to get the Green Lantern Sinestro to turn him bad like we did in the movies. So no, I look forward to more of what is being delivered. Peacemaker season 2 is coming out, I think, in a couple of months. I am excited to see how that goes, because I may do an entire episode on the victory / failings of trying to keep that series alive when Gunn said that he was completely restarting the universe. And I have opinions. I'm not going to go into it here. I also have theories. We'll talk about those later. In fact, maybe I'll do I'll record the first part before I start watching Peacemaker, and then I'll watch the other, or I'll watch it and we'll come back. Yeah, something like that. Either way, we got time for that. But overall, I'm very happy. I think everybody should watch it. I love that people are enjoying it, and that the DCU is getting some love. I do wish more people would stop starting all of their reviews with "finally a Superman that is Superman." Shut up. Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman and Justice League were amazing. Stop. Let people like things. But no, I'm excited. I want more. And I hope that the next round of things are a little more refined, in my opinion, and a little less gully-gosh. But even if they aren't, it's still going to be a good time. It's going to be great great comic book stuff on screen. And with Gunn at the helm, we know that we're going to get some interesting characters that, for deep cut comic book fans like myself, it's cool to see these guys envisioned on the big screen. So, and the small screen if you count Max. So, all right, I've kept you guys way too long. I could go on forever, but I can't. I've got work to do. So, without further ado, please be safe. Wash your hands, get your shots, wear a mask. Don't be a jerk. Don't believe idiots in the government. And just try and leave every room a little happier than when you got there. And I think that we'll be okay. Next week, we'll talk about some cool stuff and get people ready for Gen Con, because it's right around the corner. So, have fun and go play some games. Because I will. Bye, guys.